Hey everybody, welcome to Board Game Heaven. My name is Raymond, and in this video I'm taking a look at the Colonial Marines Operations Manual, which is an expansion source book for Alien, the role-playing game by Free League Publishing. And I'd like to thank Free League for sending over a copy of this book for me to take a look at. And as you may have guessed, this book is all about the Colonial Marines from the second Alien movie, Aliens, where the first book focused more on the Alien film, plus all the other movies as well. It even covers a bit from Prometheus and Covenant even. This one delves more into Aliens and the Colonial Marines, all of their weapons, their vehicles, the planets they go to. There's also a huge Game Mother section in there and no less than 7 missions that you can play. Now, before I go through the book and show you what it's all about, I'd like to ask you to please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. That really does help the channel a lot, and if you're already subscribed, thank you so much. Absolute legend. You can also support me on Patreon. There's a link in the description below, and Patreon saints get early access to all of my videos, their name in the credits as a supporter, and also access to Patreon exclusive content. All right, let's dive into the book. Alright, so let's have a closer look at the Colonial Marines Operations Manual for Alien, the role-playing game by Free League. The cover already is really cool. You can see this Colonial Marine entering through this doorway with an alien clinging to the ceiling with a tail there ready to strike. It's just really atmospheric. The back of the book just has a bit of text on it. All right, so let's start right here. So first of all, it starts with a map of the stars of the Middle Heavens. And we've seen this in the core book as well as the Weyland-Yutani core logo. So there we go. Here are all the chapters. So we've got a welcoming chapter, we've got a bit of history, organization of the United States Colonial Marine Corps, how to make Marines, creating characters, your gear, the Marine campaign, and what else do we have? We have a chapter about systems and bases, black projects, and the Frontier War, and of course a number of missions that we can play. There's quite a few, so that's really good, 7 no less. So here we go. So I love the artwork in this game, in this book. Really looks very atmospheric, very cool. All kinds of cool stuff from the movies is in here. So here it tells you, of course, what you can expect from the book. There's a lot of lore, a lot of, backstory here that really sets the mood. And I love that. It's a great read. I think it's written well. And I think it's fun to read, even if you're not really playing the game per se, and you just like more lore about the Alien universe. This is actually a pretty good read. So I'll just skip through this real quick, otherwise the film will be too long. So it starts with some background story about the Colonial Marines and why you as a player are in the Corps. That's pretty cool. So this is also something you could read to players or just have the players read. Maybe you've got the PDF of the book as well, so you can send them bits for them to read. And here there is, of course, a bit of history. So it'll explain a bit of a timeline here with what happened and how the Colonial Marines came to be. There's another timeline here. We've seen a similar timeline in the core book as well. I really like that. I really like just seeing what has happened in the Alien universe. So you can give that a read. There's more detailed explanations here. And this is already super interesting to me. I really like that. It really gives a good basis for, what you're playing. There's different major events like the Arcturian police actions and a battle for the Chinese arm. Let's see what else we have. To the victor, the spoiled, a nuclear decimated Tianjin colony granted independence. So all of this is history, and there's quite a lot, as you can see. There's quite a few pages of history. So that's great. And this just continues for numerous pages. Now, the second chapter is about the organization of the Colonial Marines. So here you have the Colonial Marines logo, of course. Operational theaters here, the Marine Space Force on Sol, in the Sol system, you know, Earth, Eridani, Hercules. Basically just how the Colonial Marine Corps works. You know, you've got divisions broken up into regiments, battalions, companies, and platoons, etc. And where the players are going to play at the platoon level, of course, because you're all soldiers. Here's the ranks that you have, the different roles you can play within your platoon. That's also pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, a lot to read here. And the different types of battalions, forces that there are. There's like the United Americas Allied Command, the Aerospace, the Canadian Colonial Armed Forces, Latin America, Outer Rim Defense Fleet, and they all have these acronyms or initialisms that you're going to have to remember or write down somewhere, because there's a lot of them. But yeah. And I often forget them, honestly. But there is still the FBI, we know that one. But yeah, as you can see, there's a lot. But you don't necessarily need to remember all of those. And you can also reference your book if you need to. But for the story, it's not that important. Just tell your players in which division they're playing and what it's called. And just leave it at that. But if you want to know, you know, the entire details of all of those organizations, it's all in the book, and you can read that if you want to, or have your players read it. But personally, this is interesting, but not that important for playing, in my opinion. So then we go to making your character, and a whole chapter dedicated on creating a character, which we already know how to do from the core game, but this is of course specifically for being a Colonial Marine. And it tells here in a short overview what you do, all the steps you do. So deciding who in the group should be the commander, your military occupational specialty. You get 14 points to distribute among your attributes, 10 points for your skills. You've got a talent. You roll for field events. You pick a rank and a name, of course, your appearance, and you've got a personal agenda, just like in the core game. You can have a buddy and a rival, and gear, and perhaps a signature item, something we often see in Free League games. And that is, of course, again, explained in great detail in this chapter. And you kind of already know how to do that, like I said, from the core game. It's not that much difficult. It's just a difference. It's just more options that you have. Here are the tables for the events for different characters, you know, like pilots and crew chiefs, yeah. There's a couple of new talents in this book for Marines, which is also nice. Of course, ranks. There's the list of ranks here. So there's quite a few of them. Personal stuff and starting gear. And some more cool art here. Look at all this stuff that you can pick from. So the basic gear and the bonus gear. And all of these things, you know, science fiction, really cool. You might actually have seen some of these in the movies or read about them in the different novels that there are in the Alien universe. Perhaps even a video game. So, you know, if you're very knowledgeable, you might recognize some of this. A lot of this was new to me, honestly, but yeah, some of the things you recognize, and that's really cool. All right, so then we delve into gear, which is, of course, nice, because the Marines have lots of weapons and other gear that you can use, and even with pictures. So you got your pistols, but you've got some really cool other weapons as well. You've got, of course, rifles and see stuff like this. There's even a mechanical arm here. And all of these are detailed in text here, quite detailed, really nice. There's a rocket launcher. You've got chemical weapons. You've got suits and armor, which is also really cool. So protective gear like a life vest, cold weather parka, a military grade hazmat suit, but also body armor, and there's other equipment as well. So, you know, and you can buy stuff. There's stuff that obviously has a cost. You get assigned, you know, a ballistic helmet, but if you want like a Kevlar riot vest, that's going to cost you some money, and you can save up for some really heavy duty stuff as well. So as you can see, there's just a lot in this book. Vehicles, of course, also very important. We've got a personal carrier, we've got an APC, and here you can see one of those multi-purpose vehicles, which kind of looks like the one in Aliens, but that one's in here as well. This is just a different one. And I like that they added these graphics for all of these machines. Here's even a tank in here, a Celestial Defense Artillery rail gun. There's just so much cool stuff in here. Here's a strike ship. And really, if you like the Aliens movie, you're gonna love all of these details here. Here we got the drop ship, and everything is explained, and everything is detailed. Everything has its stats, and of course a cost. So yeah, a great amount of detail was put in this book. And of course the vehicles also have weapons. So there's a whole table here of the type of weapons that you might find on these vehicles. There's spacecraft, of course. Now there's a lot of blocks of text and a lot of tables in here. So it's mostly information. I kind of wish there was more images in here, just more than the ones that we have here. So basically an image for just about everything, because I really love these kinds of images here. Look at this, the Mantis here, spaceship. And that's just, I love seeing this, you know, I want more of this here. The Kremlin spaceship, which is pretty cool. The USCMC Bougainville. That is super cool. All right, and that's it, right? So you get a couple of really big pictures and a couple of smaller ones. I kind of wish there were more, but I do love the art here. All right, then we have the Marine campaign. And this chapter is mostly for the game mother, because it tells you this is basically a framework for setting up a campaign. And there are different companies here, as you can see over here. So there's the headquarters, there's rifle companies, there's a tank platoon, heavy ordnance platoon, armored recon platoon. There's a dropship squadron, and again, so much information. I'm not much of a military person myself, so I know nothing about all of this. This is all, you know, new to me. But, you know, imagining this in a kind of a sci-fi setting with all the stuff, you know, from movies is pretty badass. So yeah, I'll just go through this really quickly. You get some really cool schematics here. So you have like a base of, spaceships and some of their most important areas, like these compartment here, the cryogenic compartment and the mess, the staging area. You can see some things in here, these power loaders, which we also know from Aliens, of course. There's a dropship, 2 dropships here in the launch hangar. And you'll probably recognize here the Conestoga class starship. I think it was the Sulaco in Aliens. This is the Tam. Then we get some explanation about those areas. So the command and the barracks section, the dropship launch hangar. So you can explain, you know, you can describe to the players what you can find in the ship and what it looks like. And maybe you're starting on the ship, going to some planet or colony to investigate something or to do a bug hunt. There's some information about basically NPCs that you might encounter here inside the squad. So there's some character information there. Here's a section for NPCs. And what happens with the, you know, player casualties, because, you know, you run a pretty good chance of getting fatally wounded And when that happens, you can just create a new character or just pick one from these. And of course, as a game mother, you could have some of these tag along as NPCs. And then when a player character dies, they kind of just jump into the role of one of those NPCs and that becomes a player. You can do that if you want, if your characters aren't too, your players aren't too attached to their character, because this might happen. This is a high risk kind of a profession, and in the Alien RPG there are multiple ways to die. There's combat procedures as well here, NPCs in combat, you got wheels, search and patrol. I mean, there's just so much to read in here. It took me a while to get through this book. There's a neat section here about setting up an ambush for your player characters, and there's of course also a series of missions. So this is basically the type of missions you can go on. So there's a whole lot here. You can actually just roll a die to see which one you're gonna do, or just pick one, of course, after reading them. And there's different types, and all of these are explained in these boxes here. You've got your recon mission, an assault mission, defense, sabotage and raid, etc., etc. Search and rescue. So all of those, a bug hunt, there you go. There's even space assault and space traffic security, stuff like that. All of that is explained here, and you can, as a game mother, pick one of those or roll a die and see what you want to play. And there's a lot of help here in the book as well. Stuff that you, as a game mother, can use to, keep the story going, or what happens, after missions with downtime, stuff like that. It is very comprehensive and very helpful as a game mother, and I would actually suggest that players read up to chapter 6, and then after that leave it to the game mother to read the rest to avoid spoilers. Of course, the game mother can choose to explain what's going to happen and what kind of mission you're on. So, the players do know what's about to happen and what is expected of them, without spoiling anything of the actual story, of course. So there's some downtime events here as well. You can, again, roll 2d6s to determine, or just pick something. There's like tables for everything. There's personal downtime events. There's like even a recipe for company cornbread. And it does also explain here, which is kind of logical, that as the game mother, you decide what happens. And sometimes, like they say here, at a critical moment, your players will all face huggers, which is bad, of course. And sometimes the campaign would be enhanced if that alien queen sliced off that PC's leg instead of his head. So yeah, that's a call you make as a game mother, and it kind of just tells you in this bit here that you should be brutal, oh so very brutal, but always rule for fun at the table and epicness in the Alien universe. So let's continue then. We now have systems and bases, so that's also pretty neat. This will also, again, give you lots of background information about different systems, the parts in the star system, the outer veil, the outer rim territories, the frontier, beyond the 20 parsec limit. And, this is just a few things, of course. It's a universe. You can throw in whatever you want. You can create your own things. There's bases. These are basically handholds of everything that exists in the Alien universe that you can use, or you can just completely make up your own stuff. There's a lot to draw from in this book. So here we have different systems. I'm not going to read all of that, of course. Just going to go through this quickly. So yeah, you see even little star charts of where it is, which you can possibly show the players, even though, it's just some stars on a map. And here, first contact, which is interesting, with the Arcturians as well, which is also mentioned in the movie Aliens. So there's, even whole tables of an Arcturian character. You might have an Arcturian NPC, and they might have different stats and attributes and skills and talents and stuff like that. So that's really cool that they also included that. Well, there's more over here. So here's a nice picture of a planet with a space station here orbiting it, and a moon, planet Chibi, the snowball moon there, and the USASF Lamont Station Alpha. And, this time they have a picture of it. So I love this. This is so atmospheric. So again, I wish there was a bit more in this book, more art, because the core book It seemed to me like had some more art than this one. This one mostly has a whole bunch of information, and it is a pretty thick book, so you know it's crammed with information. Here's the frontier. See, again, lots of flavor text. Everything that is typed in this manner is basically lore, a bit of flavor text, and this is information, and then you have tables and graphs. So the way the book is set up is also very clear. You immediately know what is important information and what is background lore. And there we go. Finally, a cool image of some mech body armor fighting a whole horde, a swarm of aliens, black projects, artificial womb soldier program. So stuff that we're not supposed to know about, basically. And yeah, I mean, this is a great read. Of course, again, don't read this if you're not a game mother. That would be spoiler territory. But as a fan of the series, this is absolutely super cool. Project Berserker. So you look at that. This amazing body armor. That's really cool. You might actually include that in one of your missions. Project Life Force. All these dark projects that we're not supposed to know about. The Dark Star program. Here is the Xenomorph XX121 aberrant types. And of course, we know that in the movies they always try to capture these xenomorphs. Weyland-Yutani wants to weaponize them, so that's also mentioned here. Genetic manipulation, like in Alien Resurrection. So that's pretty cool. Again, stuff from the movies being referenced. See, we have the Biodrone Xenomorph, the XX121B, the Gore Burster Xenomorph, the 121AB, and once again, the same criticism I had. I would love to have some pictures, you know, just to see what they look like, and not just only text. But anyway, after that relatively short chapter, we have the Frontier War, with, again, this is pretty nice to have some of that imagery. So we have an overview of the Frontier War here, rumor control, so basically background once again, lots of information, the facts. I'm again going to go through this rather quickly, how you can involve the player characters. And then we have some missions. So let's see, is this chapter 9 already? Yeah, the Frontier War still. So we're not at the end yet. I mean, there's still a whole lot of books to go. And you know, I don't want to spoil too much, so I'm just gonna go through this quickly. But oh my god, so much information. The People's Armed Forces are also in here. Children of the Two Divines, all these different factions explained, and lots of NPCs. And you might recognize this one. This one does look suspiciously like Giger, which is pretty cool. So there we go. Here, an engineer bodysuit from the Navigator in Alien. And look at all these stats. So this is for NPCs you might encounter, like an Outer Rim colonist or settler, a frontier marshal, convicted killers, even insurgents, cult fanatics, terrorists, etc. So all these types of NPCs get their own stats, get their own skills, their talents. They've really detailed everything quite a lot. There's even the Working Joe androids, which I love from, you know, which I saw in the game Alien Isolation. Absolutely recommend playing that game. If you've never played Alien Isolation, oh my god, that game is amazing. It has a lot of these Working Joe androids on it as well. I absolutely loved it. All right, so then chapter 10, again, spoiler territory. This has missions for you to play with the players as a game mother. So this is definitely, you know, game mother section. It even says it here in the top left. So which parts are game mother sections. And well, I'm gonna go through this quickly because Operation Blaze of Glory, there's 7 missions in here, and these do have some maps now and then. Again, mostly information. Here's another cool map. You can, however, find a lot of cool stuff online. There's a big fan base, of course, for this game, and people have made maps and even custom characters. Look at this. This is fantastic. The big heads here in the Hall of Heads, Temple of the Engineers. I think there was an image of that. Did I skip it? Might still have to find it somewhere. But yeah, this is really cool. I haven't read all of these yet myself because I didn't want to get too far ahead of myself. But I loved looking through all of these images of the maps, these locations. So yeah, there's quite a big section of missions you can play as Colonial Marines. So, you know, even if you're just looking for extra missions, this book is absolutely worth it just because of that. 7 whole missions, and who doesn't like playing as a Colonial Marine? It's basically playing Aliens, the movie, with different stories. Space Station, Talos Station, Weyland-Yutani. Okay, so yeah, just going to quickly go through here. It's quite, you know, a lot of information. I love this. The mine. And yeah, so that's basically it. I keep repeating myself. It's basically a lot of information, a lot of missions, a lot of tables and backgrounds and history. Not so much in the art department. It's a bit, you know, scarce on the art, which I would have liked to see more of, but then the book would have been even bigger than this, I guess. So yeah, it's chock full of stuff, and I can 100% recommend this book if you're a fan of the role-playing game. So that was the Colonial Marines Operations Manual for the Alien Role-Playing Game by Free League. Really recommend getting this book if you like the RPG. It adds so much more lore, especially, of course, if you like the movie Aliens and like the Colonial Marines and you want to play these ultimate badasses. This is the book to get. Even just for the 7 extra scenarios, it's worth it, but it just contains so much lore and so much background information. I really liked reading through this, and I'd love to try and give this a go in the near future. So that is the book. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And also check out my Patreon page by clicking the link in the description below or the icon at the end of this video. Also check out my review of the Alien Core book if you haven't seen that. There is also a link to that in the description. You can also click the I in the corner of this video and that'll take you there. I've also unboxed several of the other scenario expansions that Free League have published. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Board Game Heaven.